Do you believe in the existence of extraterrestrials?
Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this broadcast. I'm Thomas Fessler, my friends, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. Yeah, I know we're not supposed to be until Friday, but you know what? Stuff's happening in Disclosure Land, and we had to go ahead and have a show to talk about it. My friends, let me go ahead and bring up a list of all the people who are in the chat right now, because everybody, the chat is where it's at. Who do we have out there? We've got Premise here along with Anne Marie. I see Brennan England's in the chat along with Kat. We've got Century City. Oh God, Chess Purist is here along with Christine Lynn. Yeah, YouTube screwed with all the usernames. I have no idea, but we got Cosmo Fangs. Creativity from the Future is here along with CW Bet B. We've got Dan Larev. Good to see you, Dan. We've got Eliza Teal. Ghost is here along with Gray Hair Discoveries. We got Jay Boone. Jan is here along with Jared Rosenthal. We got Jason 1978. Jason Wing. We got J Cat Meow. John Mooner. Just Brains. Catlin. We got Kelly Burrow and her piercing blue eyes. Good to see you, Kelly. Noodles is here along with a Man Told Hybrid. We got Maritime Unprepared. Who else we have out there? We got Marcus and the Mandels. Michael Dymock is here along with Mike HC Wins. Mississippian is here along with Mr. Joey B in the chat. We've got Rainstorm Hunters 70 Run, Reality Check VIP. Rodney Cox is in the chat along with Shinobi One Kenobi. You know, Shrooby Doo, your name didn't get screwed. How did that happen? Stephen Forbes is here along with the Chromosome Cowboy. The Vern Dude, how about that? Thoughtform is around along with Two Heads 666. We got Wee Beastie and yeah, her. Wow, my gosh. I don't know what's going on with YouTube, my friends, but you know what? Let me jump into the chat, see what's going on, my friends. Holy cow, we got a show on a Tuesday night. Why? Because, well, is Disclosure truly dead? Jeremy Corbell is coming out and saying whistleblowers won't testify. This is big enough to go get my lazy ass off the recliner and into the show to go ahead and talk about it. Mike, Disclosure, how the hell are you, my friend? Good to hear you back.
Thank you. I'm feeling much better today, and we're going to have a fun show for everybody.
Yeah. This really caught me off key, because we've heard that Jeremy Corbell has been talking for the longest time about all these whistleblowers who are firsthand whistleblowers who are willing to come forward, right? But all of a sudden, it seems like everybody is pulling back now. Why? Because they don't trust Congress to actually do something with the testimony they're bringing forward. Now, this isn't anything news to us or our audience, Mike, because we've been talking about this for the longest time. What are your thoughts?
Well, we have been talking about this for a very long time now. You and I are both well aware of the fact that anybody that may have some information that they want to bring out publicly, they know, number one, when they testify before Congress, if they go through a public hearing, Congress takes that information, but never does anything with it.
No.
And the second thing is, we know that these people that have government pensions and benefits, they have no protections on the law books that will prevent them from going through any type of retribution for coming forward. So they're not protected. Their information doesn't accomplish anything. So there's no motivation for anybody to come forward anymore and bring any information out. There's no point.
Well, we had David Grush come forward, and where did all that information go, Mike? It went nowhere. He had 40 whistleblowers, some people who would be willing to come forward, some people who would be hostile witnesses. Now, did Congress try and line any of these people up and get that list from David Grush in the last couple of years? Well, as far as we're concerned, none of that's happened yet.
No, and it's not going to, because if you also remember, and we covered this like 2 years ago, it was Congress had been looking to create a select subcommittee on UAP, and they wanted subpoena powers.
Right.
But Speaker Mike Johnson said that he would never authorize something like that. So
Nope.
they weren't going to get the tools that they would need in Congress to try to move forward with
And that
this.
was for the UAP caucus, but when we had stuff for this task force for the disclosure of national secrets that they have out there, Comer said, oh, if you want to go ahead and have some people to go ahead and have some subpoenas to come forward, we'll go ahead and do it for you. But there hasn't been one request from Anna Polina Luna or anyone else on that committee, not a single one.
No, but if you remember, we also covered this as well. When they formed the task force, Susan Goff, of all people, actually came out publicly, and she stated that she was more than willing to read certain members of Congress on the task force into special access programs controlled under the DOD. But she was informed by the top people in Congress that they felt the members of the task force did not have a need to know, and they were dead set against her reading them in, even temporarily.
And you know what happens, Mike? You mentioned Susan Goff, and your picture goes away, and you turn into your beauty queen. My God, she's the erection killer extraordinaire.
101. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after my recent bout of illness, I didn't need to see that again, but thank you for doing that.
Oh, you bring up the beauty queen. We got to cover her, my friend.
I know. But she really pointed out that Congress is a shit show and they have no real interest in bringing anything out to disclosure. Not really. It's all mostly talk to the public.
It seems like it's a shit show for that matter. They're trying to talk about it, but they're not willing to bring this stuff forward. And you know what? People have actually put live streams out there saying, what is it? September hearings locked and loaded. I don't think they have an idea who the hell they're going to be bringing up as witnesses at this point.
Because they don't really have anybody, and there's nothing on the schedule. You and I know that. We check it regularly.
Yeah.
They haven't scheduled or penned anything in. Nothing has been set up. So that information is not accurate, to put it politely.
It just seems like more rhetoric and more conversation to keep people hooked to bring this stuff in. But you know how we deal with stuff here at Disclosure tonight, Mike. We go ahead and call it how it is, because the last thing we want to do is hype up our audience with all these grandiose claims of where it's going to go. And year after year, where does it go? Nowhere but down the toilet.
Right. And the government has been doing that long enough, and we're not going to sell our audience a bill of goods doing the same thing to them that everybody else is. So they know when they come here, they can trust what we say.
Yeah. Well, we try to bring forward the truth as much as it is and stay away from the hype of where different things are. On that note, we've got a clip here from Weaponized that was pointed out where Jeremy's saying disclosure is dead. Shall we play it? Because this is one of the major things. We got other news to cover beyond this, my friends. A couple other stories. Let's get to it. So let me bring this up here, Mike. And all right, let's play this. This is the latest clip coming out of the Weaponized podcast. Good to see that Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp are still going. But we're missing George on the screen in this one. We've got some other podcasters that are there. Let's play it and see where it goes. Here we go, folks.
My conclusion was, after 3 years or whatever, this was a non-human craft.
Yes, I know people in official capacity who have interviewed with people that exactly fit this description, and I have pushed on them, being like, what is it going to take for someone like that to come forward publicly? And by the way, that was part of an ICIG investigation where people of that level were communicated with. And I know exactly who is doing that back and forth. And here's the deal, man. They said to me, what would be the motivation for someone like that to break from the fold and destroy their whole lives just because they were called in to come talk with me? It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. There has to be somebody who's so upset with something surrounding this that they're just like going to try to burn it all down. And usually those people never make it to the starting point, you know, if they're coming from that attitude. people that work in those programs are so highly monitored with polygraphs and, you know, their family lives, making sure they're stable. If you remember all the way back, looking to the Tsar, why did he get not called back for the program? It was because they found out his wife was cheating on him and he became a security risk. That's how security clearances work, is you have to have a stable family life. So people that would break from the fold, that are feeling all that type of pressure and just try to burn the whole house down, dude, they're going to find out they're in that mental state way prior to them ever being able to get to the starting point. So it's a long way to say, yeah, man, the Holy Grail. Yeah, I know about those conversations. I've talked to people on both sides of those conversations. The thing is, there's no indication that people like that are at this moment willing to come forward. And in fact, I can't go further than that, but in fact, if people were willing at one point, I don't think it's possible anymore for them.
And just to be clear, you're talking about other people have had the conversations with those whistleblowers, or not you?
Yes. Well, what I'm admitting to is that in official capacity, there are people doing this investigation that have conveyed to me their direct official debriefing with individuals in those programs, like working on the technology currently, non-human technology. So I know these people have had those investigatory roles and had those briefings and took the information because of the ICIG, reports.
Cool.
Yeah. I wish I could help more on that, guys,
Well, Mike, there's the answer, clear as a bell, that those people who could have come forward to go ahead and testify have stepped back and said, no way in hell. And I can understand, because if you look at, they're going to kill their career, they're going to go ahead and put themselves and their family in danger. What's the payback if the people that they're going to go ahead and testify for don't do anything about it and won't give them the protections that they deserve?
It means they will not come forward for any additional hearings that they may have in the future. That's a certain, guaranteed. So whatever they're planning on doing in September, if they ever get around to doing it, first problem is going to be they're not going to have anybody that's going to come forward with any actual information.
Yeah. And Mike, if I could use this as a point to possibly jump into one of the topics we're going to talk about with regards to someone who's trying to head up the hearings and everything. Shocking insider news, Burleson drinks the UFO Kool-Aid.
Yes. Yeah, he's been out there making the rounds. Used to be Tim Burchett that was doing that, but
he's been silent. He hasn't said a word about UFOs. He used to be the one saying it's a cover-up time and time again, but for the last 3, 4, 5 months, it's like someone buttoned up his lip and he's not willing to talk about it anymore. What do you think's up with that?
I think he realizes behind the scenes what we're talking about publicly right now. He realizes disclosure is dead. It's not moving forward in Congress. Nobody wants to step forward. They have nothing to gain by doing that, only to lose. He himself proposed a one-page amendment that would put in additional whistleblower protections for these people to come forward, and it got shot down hard and fast. So he's probably pretty disgusted at this point with the whole process. Nothing is moving forward. Not in a meaningful way that would provide these people the ability to come forward if they chose to. That's something that he knows is going on behind the scenes. So he's not going to talk publicly, because what does he have to talk about? Not much, really.
Not a lot, honestly.
No.
We wish it was more, but it seems like he's trying to pick up the momentum. He's trying to pick up the, if you want to call it, the torch and carry it, where Anapolina Luna has completely lost it at this point. And we're not going anywhere. And if he's been drinking the Kool-Aid, especially when he's been bringing out statements that have been put forward by Stephen Greer about the Tic Tac being from Lockheed Martin, and it's the same bullshit that actually got to Ross Coulthart and others, it just shows there's not... Although he's got David Grush on his side, there seems to be a level of incompetency, or let's just say ignorance, that's there, where he just doesn't understand what we're trying to accomplish here.
Well, Well, that's the one thing that I'll say about Burchett when he was out publicly. You never heard him making any type of claims from Stephen Greer. He wouldn't drink the Kool-Aid like that. He knew better. He was familiar enough with this community to know what's real and what's bullshit.
Right.
And you didn't hear him jumping up and down about the mummies or about any claims with Stephen Greer or CE5 or anything with Lockheed and the Tic Tacs. Never.
Right.
So that's why we appreciated when we did hear from Burchett what he had to say.
Yeah, and it was decent information for what was going on. He kept to the script, if you want to call it, call out things, but now we've got so many different supposed whistleblowers coming forward and talking about situations and talking about unverified information. It just seems like the whole skeptical part of disclosure is just winding up as much as we'd get coming from Linda Moulton Howell and her claims about disclosure from her side of the fence. Nothing that could be truly verified, and just a lot of salacious claims being made.
Right. That's the problem.
When are the aliens going to invade? That's what I want to know. When are they going to come for us? I need answers, please.
I'll give you the answer. Okay. And Thomas and I covered this recently with Dr. Beatrice Villarreal and the work that she's done in her recent scientific discoveries. The truth of the matter is they're not coming to invade us because they already did. They've already been here for a long time.
Take it for a second, Mike. Go ahead.
So they're not coming because they've been here with us for a very long amount of time. So don't expect to see anything overhead or any large invasion force coming and landing on the White House lawn. They've already done that. That happened back in July of 1952.
So, I'm sorry,
so they're not coming. They're here.
Well, okay, so I get where you're coming from. What are the chances of them living among us?
Well, that's a whole other discussion and a completely different rabbit hole to go down. I can tell you that David Grush, when he was going to be releasing his op-ed, he clearly stated that the biologics, the bodies that the U.S. government is in possession of are in fact the gray type that people who have been abducted have given eyewitness testimony about for decades.
No.
He was the first one to confirm those are in fact the alien bodies that we're in possession of. Nothing about additional races, tall whites, anything like that, reptiles, none of that shit. He only admitted publicly that we, in fact, have the gray types. Now, they're not going to blend in with the public, so they're not walking amongst us. That's the reality of it.
Do you know about this? What was this Florida incident? The aliens. Do you know anything about this?
We're talking about Miami and the whole aliens that showed up in a mall. Slightly after we had the situation going in Las Vegas from someone who was in it. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
What was that all about? Can you please elaborate?
That was about hype and people trying to make a name for themselves.
Oh, Mike, I got a good clip for this one.
Oh, a bullshit artist.
Yes.
Yep. That's what that was. And that came out. The truth always comes out sooner or later. So that's the reality around us. Take it or leave it. But, we're just going to have to wait and see. There are people with actual information. Corbell was saying people don't have any motivation to come forward, so disclosure is going to die on the vine. Well, that may be true for Congress, but that's not necessarily true for the rest of us. And I'll give you an example. Corbell himself has Matthew Brown with firsthand knowledge that already came out publicly on Corbell's show.
And Brown was willing to come forward in the last hearing, but he was silenced by Nancy Mace, wasn't he, Mike?
He was, and now she's looking to get out of Congress, and she wants to run for governor. So she's done with it, but But that doesn't mean that Brown still can't come out publicly and give more information about what he knows. I don't know why Corbell isn't taking the opportunity now to do that with him. You and I would definitely be doing that If we had
But
somebody
Mike,
like,
maybe
Matthew
now Brown doesn't want to come forward because of the situation in Congress, and more importantly, Congress being paralyzed, and more importantly, their inaction to do anything with the information that is truly brought forward.
Well, that's true too. That's the real
in your
problem.
guys' honest opinion, what are the chances of the Jews working with the aliens?
I think there's a chance of anyone working with the aliens. It doesn't matter what religion you are. More importantly, religion gets in the way of actually discussing this. But let's not take this into a Semitic conversation, if we could, Mr. Lionheart.
All right, sorry. Listen, I'm just, I'm trying to put all the facts together. We're talking about the Congress. We're talking politics. Who's in control of America? Who's in control of our government? It's the Jews. So
well, if you look at the video game industry, the Jews used to be in charge of the video game industry, but it was taken over by the Japanese. So you can look at that kind of stuff getting in there, but let's just go ahead and yes, thank you for moving him out of the meeting, Mike. I appreciate that. We had a solar flare pop up that kicked out our friend who was going down the wrong path completely. Yes.
We have trolls every now and then. We've had a lot of people coming into the show. And with new people that pop up, every now and then you'll get a troll. So it happens.
Yeah. No, but seriously, the Jewish organization used to control the video game industry until the Japanese came in and bought them all out. There was different things that have happened over a period of time, and if they're wherever they're at, that's fine. But they're a good people. I've worked for them in the past. Let's just get past that if we could, Mike.
Oh, absolutely. It was resolved, and we could move on with the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Brian has his hand up. Go ahead,
Brian, go ahead.
Hey, way to pull the hook on that guy. Thank you, guys. So we do have the Whistleblower Protection Act that's been in effect for a long time, and obviously the whistleblowers coming forward don't feel that that's enough to protect them, and I would probably agree with them. But if I was in their shoes, I'd be curious, Mike, Susan, or Rick, who's on here. What sort of extra protections would need to be taken into account? Because I do believe that the FBI would be charged with protecting any particular whistleblower. What sort of extra protections do you think that they would need?
Well, there are protections that have been brought forward, Brian, and proposed by Representative Tim Burchett to give them additional whistleblower protections. But those that legislation has been shot down, right, Mike?
It has. They completely shut it down. They did not want that one-page amendment to come forward that would provide any type of retribution with losing security clearance and anything that would make these people regret coming forward. That would be sufficient protection to ensure that if they did come out publicly, that they wouldn't pay the price that the government can now do to them if they are to come out publicly. So they didn't get the protections that they would need, Brian, to move forward, which is another reason why a lot of these people that have firsthand knowledge, they do not want to come to Congress. They do not want to come out publicly. They just don't. They have too much to lose. That's my opinion.
Yeah, this is why we have consistently said when we drill down on this that it's either going to come from the executive or it's going to come from the private side. I just don't see
why nothing has really moved forward. Because Congress has been a shit show. They haven't gotten their act together. Everything that they do is half-hearted. We're the ones that broke the story here initially before the hearing on November 14th, 2024, that Nancy Mace was playing games with Corbell and Matthew Brown. And we said that there were shenanigans going on from the executive branch over to the Congress, and they denied it. But that hearing that they had was a big joke. It was nothing new came out. They had people who already made public statements that we already heard publicly. There was nothing on the level of the one when David Grusha testified.
Hey, Mike, hold on a second. We're getting some feedback from the audience that the audio is a little choppy at this point. Let me just get into settings, take the video, let me get the output. God, I've always slowed it down. Let me just speed it up, see if that helps. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah. No. So the problem is, as it's always been, that Congress says one thing but does another. And they're not really pushing for disclosure to come forward on this subject. They're not. And like Thomas has pointed out on the show for years now, if there's going to be any actual disclosure that's going to cut through all of the hurdles that the government has had in place for over 80 years now, it's going to have to come from the White House.
It's going to have to come from the White House, and more importantly, there's been tons of stuff that's been hidden in the Department of Energy, which I've been calling out before anybody ever started pointing it out. I've called out the Department of Energy going 3-4 years back, the executive branch, and everyone keeps on blaming the DOD. But the truth of the matter is, and what we've been finding out, Mike, from reporters like Christopher Sharp from the Liberation Times, it all winds up in the White House. It's not the CIA, although they have things. It's not the FBI, although they have investigative parts going on. It's literally all covered up from the executive branch, the White House, right, Mike?
It is, because the President of the United States is the only one who, with the swipe of a pen, can declassify everything that they have kept hidden this entire time. Nobody else.
That's right.
So without that, we're not going to see anything that they have kept from the public this entire time.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Well, Mike, we like to go ahead and blame our dear friend Susan Goff. The truth of the matter is, she's just a pawn in a part of the subset of the DOD, but the true villains are coming from the White House and the DOE, because they're the ones who have all the pawns that they're controlling to bring this stuff forward.
Well, they are. And also, it came out when Matthew Brown had come out publicly. And if you remember, he first came out with the Immaculate Constellation Special Access Program.
Yep.
But it turned out that that wasn't being run from the DOD. That was actually a presidential unacknowledged special access program. And the public had not heard a term like that before he came forward.
Yeah.
So it's really being under the control and hidden from the White House.
Right.
Directly from the executive branch.
Yeah.
From the top.
And just I want to call this out. Some people are complaining about the buffering that's going on. Mike, we've been going ahead and broadcasting at 1080p 60 at 13,000 kilobytes per second to go ahead and broadcast this coming out. And we haven't had issues. Granted, we're having some issues tonight, but it's not us. It's YouTube's platform that's giving us some issues. But that's why we get that better than broadcast TV appearance on the show that we strive for. Granted, my friend, we are live, but you know what? We try to give you a decent broadcast.
Right. But it's not under our control. It's ultimately, it resolves from YouTube, which we have no control over. So
That's
when
correct,
something is going on their end, and there's been issues going on with them for a while now. They're changing the algorithm. They're changing a lot of things behind the scenes. And it's affecting the live stream.
Yeah.
And on us and other shows as well. So this is something they're going to have to fix.
Yeah, we can't control the bandwidth or the platform that's there, but if they've got issues going on, like we've all seen, all of our names in the chat have been changing up, throwing additional numbers on there, different stuff, and it was just like, what the hell is going on? It's not us. It's YouTube trying to potentially lower costs or other issues. But you know what? A lot of people are saying sound is good here, video is good here. Well, let's just continue on, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Now, one of the next things we want to go ahead and bring up for tonight's story, this is a short show tonight, my friends. Let's go ahead and bring it up. We've got Lou Elizondo appeared on News Nation last night to if you want to call, read into the statements that we covered from Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah, that's a good clip.
Yeah, let's get into this clip and see where it takes us, Mike. Let me find this. Here we go. Let's go ahead and play it. Here we go, friends.
So, Lou, good to see you. What is Tulsi Gabbard know that we all don't know?
Well, I think it's important to note that Tulsi
Hold
Gabbard...
on, wait a second. This is like playing back at...
Double speed.
Double speed. Let me get back to here. Let me get back to... where is that at? Alignment. There should be something here for playback speed. Where in the hell is that at? Playback speed.
Somebody in the
half.
chat
Let me slow it
said-
down. Let's see if this does. I'll take it down to half. See if this takes care of it. Here we go.
So, Lou, good to see you.
Well, that's too slow.
That's way too slow. But somebody in the chat said Lou electrocute Elizondo because look at his hair. That's fucking funny.
Well, he's just got a little bit of spike going on and all that kind of stuff. Where is this at playback speed? Let me go to normal. Let's try it again.
What does Tulsi Gabbard know that we all don't know?
Well, I think it's important to note that Tulsi Gabbard is a very seasoned official. She cut her teeth as a combat veteran and also formerly a field grade officer. So she's not new to the world of intelligence. And I think what she's doing is exactly her due diligence. Before she makes a public statement, she wants to make sure she speaks to all of the 16 intelligence agencies, try to remove all the stovepipes as she can, and really get to the truth of the matter. The bottom line is, look, whenever you admit to the American public that we don't have complete aerodomain awareness of our skies, we don't know what's in.
You know what, Mike? I have to go ahead and bring this up. Lou talks like this is an issue. Have we ever had domain control over our skies? I don't think we have. You know, if you look back to some of the first incidents we had with UFO sightings was coming from the U.S. mail up in Canada when they were trying to deliver airmail up there and they had their planes force landed. These are incidents that were tagged by former, if you want to call it, UFO investigation platforms that were headed up by members of NASA and others. And we just have to look at it and say, have we ever had domain over our skies? Have we had domain over our oceans or over our lands? And that answer is a resounding no. So to go ahead and say, well, we can't talk about this. This is a matter of national security, Mike. This is just a matter of fact because it's been going on forever.
We haven't been alone on this planet for a very, very long time. And because of that, we haven't had domain over anything that we believe is ours. Right. That's just the simple truth.
Yeah.
But we'll see what the government comes forward with at one point.
Well, I don't think they're ever going to be willing to give us the truth because of quote unquote national security concerns. But the problem is, Mike, we've got people like Lou. We've got, if you want to call it former Colonel Carl Nell and other people that have written the UAPDA, the UAP Disclosure Act that's there, and they are people who have their heads up the ass of the government, and they don't want to let disclosure come out because it quote unquote puts our government at a risk of national security. But if we've never had the security, Mike, what kind of risk is there?
None, actually. Absolutely none. But like you said, we're not going to get the government to ever admit the truth about that. They have nothing to gain by bringing it out.
And they can
That's
call
a
it
good
as
point.
reasons, but the truth of the matter is these things have always been in play. So why do we have to hide the interaction from a higher intelligence from everybody on the planet? It just doesn't make sense.
Because if it's something that the government doesn't have any answers to or direct control of, you and I have talked privately about this. We know that their policy is going to be to cover it up at all costs and not admit to it or deal with it because they can't. So they're just going to remain silent. We know that already.
Yeah.
And not just on this topic, on other topics as well.
It's a
That's
shame,
the
my
government's
friend.
policy.
Let's continue on with a bit more of this video, and then we'll talk more about it. But it's just, yes, we've never had control and domain over our skies. So to say we can't talk about it because it's a matter of national security, you know what? We've never had that security. So enough of the bullshit. Bring out the truth. Let's see what they have to say.
Our skies all the time. You're also tipping your hand to your adversaries that we have vulnerability. So it's really a catch-22.
Well, you know what, Mike, I have to say, it's not just the United States that has their vulnerabilities. Our enemies or our adversaries have the same problem, don't they?
Oh, they do. But you and I have also talked about this, and we even covered this a while ago. Our adversaries, like, for instance, let's say China, they have a standing policy that if anything violates their airspace, they have standing orders to shoot it down. The United States doesn't do that. China does. They want to protect the citizens. They want to protect their domain. So if anything doesn't belong there, they'll shoot at it. So that tells you how some of our adversaries are dealing with this problem as opposed to our official stance on it.
So in other words, our reasons of national security not to bring this stuff forward is nothing but a bunch of bullshit.
Oh, all of it is because...
And the people who are trying to bring the truth out, including those from the UAPDA, are aligning to the whole national security bullshit as well, right?
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And listen, very key point. If you remember when Donald Trump was running his campaign to become the next president, he said, as far as the drones over New Jersey, that it's very simple. If there's anything that does not belong over the continental United States, it should be shot down.
Yeah.
Now that he is president of the United States, it turns out that Congress is fighting to get authorization on the books that anytime we have another incursion like this over our restricted military airspace, they have the right and the ability under the law to shoot these things down. Still haven't gotten it. So that sounds like a 180-degree turn from what he was talking about publicly before he got elected. Something changed.
He said he would bring out the information about the drones, but he also said he'd bring out the information about disclosure. And like you're bringing up, Mike, in one of his last statements, he said he's not allowed to bring this kind of information forward. And who is silencing someone like Donald Trump for bringing the truth forward? It sounds like a cabal or something even greater that's actually in control of our government.
Well, by the statement that he publicly made that we covered, where he said he's not allowed, that is an admission for the first time that there is something else that is in control of our government and makes policy about what we can and cannot know and what we're able to do about it. And not even the President of the United States. That is a scary proposition. That's something that needs to be investigated further. And the truth on that needs to come out, because if that's really where this country has been for a long time now, we need to put a stop to that.
100%. If I may go to one of our members in the chat, Rick Doty, what is your take on this particular situation? You've been watching this for many, twice as many years as I have. What do you feel about how the government is saying they're going to bring it out, but then they walk it back and say they can't?
Well, it's a good question. I think that there are many whistleblowers out there that are ready and willing to come forth in the proper venue, Congress, and tell their story. But there's limitations in what they can say. If you check out and read the Whistleblower Protection Act, it allows them protection, but it also restricts them from disclosing classified information or any information that would jeopardize the national security. So they're in between a rock and a hard place. They want to come out, they want to talk about their knowledge or experience with UAPs or UFOs, and I know many of them that's willing to do that, but then the government will slap them if they disclose anything that's classified. And I also think that there's as I heard, I just read this today. I don't know if it's factual or not, but it came out from a reputable website that the U.S. Intelligence Service has Operation Horse Collar in effect. That is a counterintelligence operation to discredit anybody that comes out with UAP or UFO data. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but I read that today. I think that's a possibility. I think some of these people that are coming out, such as Jake Barber, Eric Heckler, I think their intentions are good. Their intentions are good, but I believe they're being controlled by counterintelligence. And Russ Colhart, I'm almost convinced he's a disinformation person. He's being fed false information, and as soon as he hears something, he runs to that microphone and preaches it. He doesn't check on things. Because there's so much out there that people within the intelligence community are rolling on the floor laughing so hard at Russ Colhart because they know that what he's saying is absolutely bull. And this really destroys the disclosure movement. It really hurts me to see people, and I don't know. I don't know Russ in a way. I met him one time. I don't wish him any harm, feelings, but I think he drank the Kool-Aid and he runs with things before checking them out.
Now,
and this is no harm disclosure.
Now, one things we've heard recently is Ross actually did want to check out that new whistleblower that came out that was talked about psychoactivity today, but he didn't want to go ahead and run the story that was actually came out until he could actually go ahead and verify the sources. But after psychoactivity came out with the story today, there's been a renewed interest from Ross to go ahead and release the interview he had cached from weeks ago, right, Mike?
That's correct, Thomas. Yeah. So he is bypassing the vetting process and just trying to get the story out there, like Rick had just pointed out. He seems to be doing that more times than not, unfortunately. And that's what led to the breakup between him and Bryce Zabel.
It's really
on
a
the
catch-22. Tulsi is in a really difficult spot because on one hand,
that seemed to completely happen, Mike. And it's just a shame that we ran into that situation, to say the least.
Right, and we covered it as it was happening, and we were pointing out everything we saw. And because Ross had made all of those claims, like with Lockheed and Tic Tac, without running it by Bryce before they went live on the air, like you and I do with every show, it led to Bryce pushing back, which Ross didn't care for, and they broke their partnership up after many, many years together. So it's unfortunate, but that was the outcome of the decisions that Ross made.
Yep. And we're still dealing with the outcome of that now with other situations that are going out and stories that are coming forward that Ross had interviewed ahead of time, and now he wants to get this stuff out because someone is beating him to the punch. But I have to give Ross credit. He didn't want to bring the story out until he could verify it and find additional witnesses who could verify what was going on. And Ross didn't bring it out. Why? Because even Ross can verify it. If it can't be verified by Ross, you just have to take some of these claims that are coming out and understand they're salacious at the least. Right, Mike?
No, that's true. But that interview that he did might be coming out. So, he decides what Kool-Aid he wants to go drink and what rabbit hole he wants to go down, and eventually it comes out. The only good news I can tell you is that our own Gene Sticco, the author of Reverse Engineering Infinity, he's going to be interviewed by Ross as well. So that's actually a good thing. Because we had him here on the show. He's a regular that comes on with us.
But if you look at it, though, Mike, and go back and take the clock of time, we're the one who broke the story about that whistleblower that was being represented.
We did. We had Ivan come on the show and discuss exactly what he knew and what his client was aware of, and we put that out there on several different occasions. We broke that story, yeah. We were waiting to have his client, when he decided to come out publicly, come and tell his own story in his own words. But it didn't seem to turn out that way in the end.
It never does, my friend.
The Seco Activio podcast.
Let's just play this remainder of this clip of Lou Elizondo and see where it takes us, my friend. Here we go.
It's really a catch-22. Tulsi is in a really difficult spot because on one hand, she does have these outstanding questions like the New Jersey drone issue. We now know there was not prosaic explanations for what occurred with every one of those quote-unquote drone sightings. But at the same time, look, you've got 16 intelligence agencies that somehow it's like herding cats. You have to try to get all of them to report information to you. Yeah. And it's one heck of a bureaucracy. It really is.
You mentioned something about the danger of drones, and I hate to say this, another 9/11 style attack. I mean, can you explain to us how we prevent something like this? It's much different warfare than we've ever seen before.
Look, I'm really glad you're saying that. I think the American people would be shocked to learn that in modern warfare now, when you take the Ukraine, there have been more deaths attributed in combat to drones than artillery and infantry combined. Now think about that, right? So we are entering a completely new paradigm on how warfare is conducted. And it's really not much of a stretch to imagine some sort of foreign adversary or someone who wants to do harm to the United States or our national security, rather than using 737s, instead using much cheaper, much more affordable, and much easier to hide drones. They are already being used by drug cartels on our borders for surveillance and for smuggling drugs, and they're also being used right now in combat to kill other human beings. So I think that's a great question, and I think this is why our nation really needs a comprehensive strategy, and frankly, maybe even a national intelligence estimate done every year by the DNI, by Tulsi's people. Yeah.
No, 100%. It's definitely a reality that we have to be talking about. Before I let you go, I got to ask you got former Pentagon scientist Eric Davis said there are 4 types of alien species. There are grays, Nordics, insectoids, and reptilians. I never thought I'd be saying that this morning. Should we be taking anything of this as credible?
I was a nuts and bolts guy. Unfortunately, I can't comment on biologics, but I was more of a nuts and bolts guy.
Okay, fair enough. The conversation for another day. Lou Elizondo, thanks so much. Good seeing you.
Well, so Mike, I have to bring this up, although Lou says that he was a nuts and bolts guy. He actually did have a chapter dedicated to biologics in his book, Eminent, which I have to ask the question, Mike, what the hell happened to Eminent?
Well, he's continuing his book tour. There's new appearances coming up in September, right?
Well, it's new appearances, not necessarily from the book tour, but he has more appearances and speaking engagements that he's scheduling, yeah.
Right, so I would assume it's probably connected to Imminent, his book.
Yeah.
It has to be, yeah.
Potentially.
So, yeah,
you never know.
Forward with that.
Yeah.
Well, between that and his new bar, Bombshell American Cantina, that's going to have his attention divided. But no, I'm glad he's out there again. I'm glad he's moving forward.
Yeah.
And I like how he answered that question. He was very diplomatic about it and sidestepped it perfectly. Gave a masterclass on how to speak with the mainstream media. And
I'm a nuts and bolts guy, but he has talked about biologics in the past, and you just got to wonder why the sudden shift to not talk about biologics and leave it to somebody else. Let's see if we can get that somebody else to come forward if we can. We have 2 people in the back with their hands up. First, Alice, and then Ed. Alice, what say you?
Hey, I don't know if I imagined it or dreamed it, but was there a recent briefing to President Trump about aliens?
No.
Yeah, I thought I saw that somewhere. Maybe I did dream it. Okay, I was wondering if there was. Well,
there was mention that there potentially was a briefing coming from Eric Burleson, but that was taken out of context. And so while people claimed there was a briefing about Nordics and others. It sounds like it didn't happen, right, Mike?
It didn't. Never
And what
took place.
about, there was a treaty called GREA something, GREATY. Have you heard of that?
Not a bit.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Ed, what say you, my friend, my recliner in chief?
Well, I am confused on something, and would ask Rick to maybe help answer this question because of his background over the years in counterintelligence. But I'm confused as to why somebody in our government would want to put in counterintelligence on Russ and on Jake Barber. What's the advantage of doing that? If it's to discourage us from thinking it's UFO, but it's American, then aren't we in just as much deep water exposing our own capabilities?
Well, yeah, good question, Ed. When you run a counterintelligence operation, I ran a few of them over the years. You use every device or every technique you can to disinform whoever you want to are trying to disinform, and to control disclosure or control classified information, which is basically what counterintelligence is doing. You feed the wrong information to protect the truth. And so I can see, and I said this years ago when some of these people came out, especially Russ, is that he's being fed information that the government wants him to disclose in order to control the classified projects that the government doesn't want to disclose. So that's how counterintelligence works.
Well, I'm with that, Rick, but what I don't get is what are they hiding? If, in Jake Barber's case, the psionics thing, that's pretty big news. So, if it's disinformation, is that whole thing disinformation or what? And what are they trying to hide? I just don't follow it.
Well, I don't, that's a good point or good question regarding Jake Barber. He seems to be able to talk the talk, but he hasn't walked the walk yet because he hasn't produced anything. The one big Skywatchers disclosure that was supposed to occur in January never did, and now people are questioning, mostly skeptics, but some people, legitimate people within the cosmic disclosure community, is questioning why he hasn't produced something that he claims that he could produce. So now I don't know that that's being fully controlled by the government, or whether he's just making this stuff up for a name, to make a name.
Now, Rick, are you talking about the claims that Jake Barber had gone ahead and said that they can go ahead and bring down and land a UAP craft at will? Because that's something that they said they could do, but they haven't been able to. Granted, there's been a bunch of videos of showing things in the atmosphere, but the truth of the matter is, Lou Elizondo said in the past, if actually humanity knew about all the different things that were flying around, Mike, what did he say they would do? We'd shit ourselves?
Yeah, if everybody could see exactly how many objects would be above us without having a need for special sensors like forward-looking infrared, and we knew exactly how many there were at all times, we would shit ourselves. Yeah, he said that.
Oh, I agree. I agree. If the American public knew everything the government knew, NSA, NRO, and NASA, they couldn't sleep at night. And so, yeah, I agree. I agree with that statement by the.
Yeah, Lou was telling the truth about that. You're right, Rick. It's a good point.
Yeah, and there's so much out there that, I've been to 2 Skywatchers events, not with Jake Barber, but with others. And these people guaranteed us before at the hotel where we staged to go out that they were going to bring in something using the dog whistle and some other devices. They never did. And most of what they were seeing Now, I'm an amateur astronomer, and the guy I brought with me was also, he worked at the University of New Mexico astronomy department. When they were looking at things in the sky, we realized that almost everything they were pointing to were satellites, either geocentric or trans satellites. And we didn't say anything because, we didn't want to rock the boat, so to speak, but they didn't bring anything in, and they made a number of excuses why it didn't work.
Of course. They were having technical issues. Good answer.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Exactly what they were saying.
Oh, of course they were. That goes without saying. Look, people are always going to try to take advantage of people who have a real hunger for the truth and want to see something, and they're willing to pay for it. And whenever money changes hands, that's when things start to go south pretty quickly. Unfortunately.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. We all want the truth. And sometimes some people want to pay more money to go ahead, Mike, and try and find the truth before others. But a lot of times that's just pouring good money over bad, because nothing's going to move forward unless the entire thing moves forward. And if someone has information they don't want to bring forward and they're charging for it, that just sounds like a bad sign to me.
Well, it always is, because when you're talking about truth and transparency, it should not cost any money for that.
No,
the truth
never.
should be free. Right.
Yeah. The truth should be free and should set us free, for that matter, especially with something like disclosure. We've had such a cover-up going on that's been taking the truth of another hyper-intelligent species that's been interacting, potentially shaping humankind, going on for hundreds of thousands of years. And if that's the case, you know what? Bring it out, because we've realized it. Don't hide it because we have these pre-existing nomenclatures in history or in religion in different areas, and say, oh my God, we can't bring this out. It's going to freak out our people. But you know what? If we do bring this out, more than likely, Mike, it's going to unite us as a civilization more than pull us apart. But I think the people who have the money at hand are the ones who are concerned that they're not going to make as much as they could if the truth comes out.
That's true. And we did the Ronald Reagan, the UN in 1985, many times.
Yeah.
That made that exact point. And President Reagan was then, and just like I believe he's correct now, but Lewis said that publicly. He said he knows that the public is prepared for the truth. They can handle the truth.
Yeah.
I agree with him on that. I think we can.
Yeah.
The truth has to come out, and eventually it will.
Yeah.
With the work being done, like people like Dr. Beatrice Villarreal, discoveries, people who are hardworking, not looking to grift money from the public, that want the truth about us not being alone on this planet to come out. And it will. Slowly but surely, it will.
Yeah. And everybody has a different opinion. If I could call on Ed. Ed, what is your opinion on this? I value your insight, my friend.
Are we talking about my big picture theory on this?
Well, however you want to spin it, my friend.
Well, I'm still spinning from those earlier questions, and I understand the government is in a pickle here, because if they admit that they've been lying to us for 80 years, they're in deep trouble. They lose the confidence of the people.
Yeah.
And if
you know what? Because Ed, they start saying, get me if I'm right or wrong here, they're going to say, what else have he been fucking lying to us about, right?
Yeah.
What else is there?
Well, let's look at, let's narrow in. We'll kind of hone in on this. The Jake Barber story. He seems to be credible in saying that he had actually seen these recovered before. He's actually brought one of these down. That's his claim. Okay, but nobody's able to do it now, like Rick was saying about him and
But if you look at Jake Barber's claims when he first came out, he said, yes, we can do this now. So why can't they?
So that's my question. Okay, so he could do it until all of a sudden everyone was watching, and all of a sudden he can't. Now that kind of supports a theory that you've heard me talk about before. I think disclosure is very heavily controlled by the people that are being disclosed. And if they don't want disclosure, we're not going to get disclosure.
Yeah. I'd have to agree with you, my friend. It's one of those things, if they don't want us to have disclosure, they're not going to give us disclosure. Period. But there's always an ability to have a revolution, right?
For fuck's sake. Oh. Again?
Well, it just kind of goes into it. If they don't want us to have disclosure, she's not going to give us disclosure because she is put in this position of power by our federal government, by the executive branch, by the DOD, but controlled by the president. And how many administrations has this beauty been there for to shut people up about UFOs?
Yes, let's give her resume.
How many?
Out to the public
How many?
again. Four. On both sides of the political aisle. She has been through Republican and Democratic.
So she was there from Obama to Trump to Biden
and to
Trump
again.
She has been the face of UFOs. The reason why we haven't gotten it because she follows orders. I'm sorry, it's just this is what we're dealing with, unfortunately. And she's following orders. Maybe we need to get into a strong meditation, everybody, and just concentrate and get her to change her mind.
16 and a half years through multiple administrations, and she holds ultimate power in the government over the UAP topic, where it is in the National Security Guide that any and all inquiries must go through her first.
But Mike, it's not just for the in the military or the intelligence community. It's the entire federal government. If any question comes in about UFOs, to the IRS to say, when you were out there and you were conducting this audit and you saw this thing, right? Tell us information about it. That conversation would be referred to and controlled by Susan Goff.
That's true. And every time there is a new president, there is a new administration from the top down. They start with a clean slate.
They keep her with us.
Been her. She survived. When everybody else left and they were out of a job, she survived every single time. 4 times in running now. And
well,
it's just amazing.
It's not just what she does, but it's what she knows about who. Let's just be honest. It's not about what you know, about what you can do. It's about what you know. It's not just about the subject. It's about all the people who have covered it up. And this would be the person you would bring in front of a congressional inquiry, Mike. And you would ask her those tough questions to break that stern face and get the truth. And if she lies about it, she goes to prison for life. That's what we need. She's going to be the fall guy, Mike. We look at her as the stern person who's in control of disclosure. But like what happened with Adam Schiff today.
Yeah.
And he potentially knowingly went against the Constitution into something that would be considered treason. And he said, well, you know what? Nobody's going to know about that, so let's do it. And if that turns out to be the case, that's something completely else, of course, we'll talk about. But if that's the case also with UFOs, that's my friend, is the identified kink in the chain. And whatever can be done to break that kink, that's the puzzle we need to figure out. And you know what I'm talking about here.
Yeah, I hope that when President Trump slipped out, that he's not allowed to talk about this subject. I hope he wasn't talking about from Susan Goff.
Son of a bitch.
Can you imagine? That would be a really interesting
God.
Truth about that if it came out.
But you know what? Susan Goff versus Donald Trump. Who's going to win on that conversation? Oh my God, Mike, that is a scary thought, but I've never thought about that. But just like you were right about calling out who could be the potential co-host with Bryce Zabel, and you said, Richard Dolan, because of his, they
wrote the book together. They're close friends. Yeah.
But that changes it. But, oh, son of a bitch. You had to do this to me, didn't you?
Well, I'm just wanting to put it out there as a possibility.
Hey, Mike,
case,
you know what?
If it comes true. Yeah.
You're putting it out there in a way I never would.
Oh, well, you know what? Ed raised his hand. Go ahead, Ed. What do you think about that?
No, I think you are making way too much of that.
I hope so.
Hey, Mike, I'll tell you what would really ruin your day. Thomas, this would ruin yours too. But
it's never going to ruin my day. Trust me.
Well, here it is. Yeah, all of a sudden we get the announcement.
Do you haven't Mike's wife, Maria? No.
Yeah, hang on. Let me tell you what this is. You get the announcement. Susan Goff gets up at the platform and she briefs. Stephen Greer was right.
No.
Now how's the day going?
No, you have a better chance of someone coming forward and saying that they reached up under her skirt and grabbed hold of her tree trunk before that would happen, Ed. We'll see.
I'm not going to touch that line.
No. My God, what a fun show.
Yeah, good conversation.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, my friends. Well, happy Monday, or Tuesday for that matter. We did it.
Tuesday.
We weren't planning on it, were we?
No, but it was a fun conversation. We covered some interesting topics, and it was nice to be able to talk with everybody about how they feel about what's going on.
Oh, God, yeah, my friend. Absolutely. If we could, I want to go ahead and thank everybody for your super chats tonight. Who am I talking about? Let's see. We got a couple super chats that came in from the Vern Dude twice. One, hi, Alice, and the other one, Bounce Son. Absolutely. Thank you for the super chats, my friends. And Mike, as we usually say at the end of every episode of Disclosure tonight, eyes open, no fear, be safe, everybody. But
go back to Party City where you belong.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll catch you on the flip side. Good night, everybody. Have a good one. Take care. Bye-bye.